Okay, so this video is going to be an introduction to Hindu philosophy, and since this was a very complex topic that I started to try to do on my own, but realized that I will need help, I'm enlisting the help of a good friend and a son, who I'm also very good friends with, named Bikul Das and Bikul. If you want to give some introduction about yourself, I guess.
Yes, thank you, Simon, for your interest in Hinduism, Hindu philosophy. Now, Simon is a good friend of my son, Devin. Devin, say hi a little bit.
Hi, I'm Devin. I've been a good friend of Simon for quite some time, and I'm the son of Bikul over here.
So, Hindu philosophy, and then it's a very big, huge topic, and I myself feel a little bit, how to say, I'm so small in the context of this thousands years of evolution of Hindu philosophy. But I got introduced to Hindu philosophy from my dad. He was a philosopher poet. His name is Krishna Ram Das, and also Dayal Krishna Bora. Dayal Krishna Bora was a Vedic philosopher, wrote a lot about the Vedic philosophy. And also Hembhai. Hembhai is a Gandhian. He's a very prominent Gandhian in India now. So these three gurus, I would say, three teachers, in Krishna Ram Das, my dad, and then Dayal Krishna Bora, philosopher, Hembhai, a Vedic philosopher, also plus a Gandhian. They taught me about Hindu philosophy, mainly about the Vedanta philosophy. So today I will talk about briefly what is Hindu philosophy, and maybe tomorrow I'll go for more about describing our 6 orthodox philosophy and 5 of heterodox philosophies.
Yeah.
So for Hindu philosophies, main Hindu philosophies' main goal is to find ourselves, to find our soul. And there is a Rigvedic chanting for this, Rigvedic sloka. It's called Nahi Janami.
Yeah.
So let me introduce that Hindu philosophy with that sloka. Nahi Janami Yadivaidam Asmi Ninnayaha Sambandhamanasa Sarami. Means I do not know what I am doing, where I am going. My mind walk like a sleeping man. So this is where we all are,
Yeah.
most of our human being. The next phase of the sloka is this. Yadima yagam prathamarjaritasya. Yadima yagam prathamarjaritasya. Atayid vivak asamab tugam asyaya. Means suddenly from the darkness I emerge with light.
Yeah.
I understand. I achieve nirvana. Then I realize that what the world is all about. I feel very happy.
Yeah.
So this is all about our Hindu philosophy that we discuss and discuss in darkness, and suddenly from this darkness light appears in my mind, in our mind,
From ourselves.
and then we feel so happy, we feel so blessed. So with that, the Hindu philosophy's main goal has been said that we look for our own soul.
Yeah.
The evolution of Hindu philosophy had happened, based on our own scripture.
Well, the Orthodox philosophies are based on the scripture.
Yeah. So the Orthodox philosophy, the Rig Veda is the main
Yeah.
source of our philosophy. And Rig Veda, in terms of our modern scholars itself, apparently it is at least 3 to 4,000 years old.
Yeah.
But according to Hindu philosopher, Hindu tradition, it is at least 3.4 million years old.
Yeah.
It was
Well,
composed in Satya Yoga.
well, it was even archaeology suggests that the actual stories, just like the Western texts, are much older than it was when it was written down. But the oldest archaeological finds are about 4,000 years old.
Yeah, yeah. And then from the Rigvedic part evolved a lot of the archaeological, the civilization, like one of them is the Indus Valley civilization, which everybody knows about it. It was a huge area in the Punjab, modern day Punjab, Gujarat,
Pakistan.
also kind of Pakistan, Afghanistan.
Yeah.
and
Parts of
it-
India.
yeah, so parts of India. So it was a civilization of a spectacular achievement in terms of archaeology, town planning, but most importantly, it was non-violent.
Yeah, no weapons. No weapons whatsoever until around 1,600 years old. 1,600 BC, which is, you compare that to its its neighbors.
Egyptians or
Yeah,
Mesopotamia,
the
right?
Egyptians, or the Akkadians, etc. And we have records of human sacrifice, etc. going back long, thousands of years old. And not to mention weapons being one of the first developments, where no weapons in the Indus Valley. Crazy.
Yeah, so this is really crazy in the sense that imagine a civilization having an area. The square surface area is about 10 times bigger than Egyptian civilization.
Yeah.
It is huge. It is extending the modern day Afghanistan, Pakistan, and part of North India.
And parts of Iran.
Parts of Iran as well.
Yeah, parts
Yeah.
of Iran.
And then somebody for 3,000 years, they did not have any weapon. They didn't have an army. They didn't have a king. We do not know.
Maybe king.
Maybe
But
king, but
no,
there's
no,
no central.
no centralized state,
yeah.
no monopolization of power like you have in pretty much every other civilization that we've known.
Yeah, so it is a utopia. This is what we all liberal people like us, Simon, we all hope for.
Well, he means liberal in the classical sense, not in the Western political sense. So don't get too angry at us.
Okay, so sorry. So it's kind of Gandhian philosophy. Gandhi wanted to have the civilization back.
Yeah,
That's what he fought for,
yeah.
right? So
Although
we do not know what was the philosophy there because we still don't know.
we have. Well, so I mean, this will start us getting into the more the core part of this episode or video rather. Maybe it becomes a series. We'll see. Simon and Bikul and Devin. I can edit that name out if you like.
Yeah, Devon is okay, Devon. Are you okay?
We'll decide later.
Anyways.
Yeah. So the earliest roots of what we would call Hindu philosophy. But actually, before we get into that, a bit of the etymology of the word Hindu. And this is, to an extent, very important to our frankly flawed Western understanding of Hinduism. So the word Hindu comes from the Proto-Iranian word Sindhu, which refers the Sindhu, which basically meant a person east of the Indus River, or back then the Sindus River, or the Indus River rather. Eventually, as the Proto-Iranic languages evolved, the S sound became an H sound, and thus Hindu. So the Hindus essentially were the people east of the Indus River. He's cleaning my keyboard. Anyway, so but when the British came, the British conducted the censuses, and one of the things that they measured was religion, and they didn't really have a word for this native religion, which we know today as some very spiritual, polytheistic, very varied religion. So they just slapped the label on, which was used by the ancient Greeks to refer to the Indians, which was Hindu. So Hinduism is not exactly a religion. It's more, to call Hinduism religion would be like to call all of Western philosophy one religion. It just does not work. Now that that's out of the way, going into actual Hindu philosophy, the earliest roots of Hindu philosophy we actually find in the Indus Valley civilization with archaeology, and be cool.
Yeah. So one of the surprising thing about the Indus Valley civilization is that, so there was a whatever seal or kind of a archaeological evidence of a seated yogi in a yoga posture, and we call him Proto Shiva.
And
So
Shiva above him.
So the yoga is itself is still the main, how to say, philosophical practice of Hinduism. That is,
A spiritual practice.
main spiritual practice. This is a very distinctive because
Yeah.
nowhere in any other civilization, human being had decided to sit down, basically do nothing and meditate in a yoga posture. But that is what actually boiled down to what Hinduism is, that through yoga. Yoga means union.
Yeah.
We want to unite with our own atma or self,
Yeah.
soul.
So I'm just gonna put up a quick graph when I edit this of essentially Eastern terminology, because it's a little bit different than Western terminology, as I've talked about in last video talking with Mr. Kogi. So I'm just gonna put up a graph there with the Western versus Eastern explanations. But now that we have this archaeological base, and both me and Bikul actually separately came to the conclusion that the religion of this Indus Valley civilization is somewhat similar to what we call today as Jainism, due to its nonviolence, its presence of Shiva, and also its very spiritual practice, right? So it's Hinduism comes out of this combination of this very spiritual religion, possibly somewhat similar to Jainism, with the combination of the religion that was brought by the Aryans when they invaded, which is more akin to Indo-European paganism. So after these two civilizations, sort of two cultures, I don't really know if you call the Aryans a civilization, but these two cultures come into contact. The product, at least intellectually, is now early Hinduism, and now this is when we see the early Sanskrit forms of the Vedas form, starting with the Rig Veda and then going through the other four. Can you just list the Vedas?
Yeah, we have the Rig Veda, there's the first foremost Veda. Then we have the Yajur Veda, Sam Veda. So these are three Veda. Then we have the Atharva Veda.
And in the Atharva Veda, if I remember correctly, you have probably the arguably one of the most important texts, which is the Upanishads, right? It's in
Upanishads are mainly composed of all the four Vedas, mainly on the Rig Vedas and Atharva Vedas.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so the Upanishads are a composition of this. And a lot of Hindus have not read the earlier Vedas, but more of them have read the Upanishads. So how I think of this, and you can tell me if this is correct, is I think of the Upanishads sort of as the New Testament, and whereas the Rig Veda and the earlier Vedas are sort of more like the Old Testament.
Yeah, I agree. So I have some kind of a disagreement with Simon, because Simon has read, he's a young guy, I mean, he read a lot of the Western version of Hindu history.
Yeah, I try my best not to.
Yeah. So, but this Aryan invasion, we politely disagree because for us historically and also archaeologically, Indus Valley was not really kind of invaded.
No.
There's no archaeological evidence for that.
Well, yeah, sure.
So what happened is this, that Indus Valley, because of climatic change and also the river called Saraswati River flow change, the people basically migrated. But Indus Valley civilization continued. There's a continuation of archaeological evidence.
Yeah.
From the Indus Valley to the modern, the Iron-based civilization that came up. The Western scholar named them as a kind of Vedic civilization, or kind of classical Vedic civilization. But from an Indian point of view, we consider it kind of a different. We consider that before Indus Valley civilization, we had the Rig Vedic civilization. The Rig Veda came, the Veda come before Indus Valley civilization. Indus Valley civilization was mainly probably the Shramanian culture, mainly the Jainism, because Jainis are so much non-violent. They develop 1,000 years of history, political architectures, social archetype. They have mentioned very well about how society, but everything. So whatever the Exodus Jainas mentioned in the text, we see in archaeologically in the Indus Valley civilization. So it was a post-Vedic civilization for our point of view, from a Hindu point of view. So in that context, what happened is this: after the Veda evolved, Rig Veda in our prehistoric time, Indus Valley civilization was a time for Upanishad. At that time, the major Upanishads were probably the Shamanism.
In Upanishad, quite going back to the original archaeological discoveries of the the sitting yogis.
Yeah,
you
sitting
could say.
yogis.
Upanishad literally means sit down near.
Yes.
So if that says something,
Yeah.
that's certainly interesting.
Upanishad means you disagree with any orthodox thinking. You unite your own through yoga, discover yourself. That's Upanishad. So one of the main Upanishad thinker was called Mohidas. So Mohidas, he composed Aranyaka. Again, there are 3 layers of Upanishads or the post-Vedic scripture. One is called the Brahmanas. So Brahmanas were mainly an explanation about the Veda, very highly orthodox. After the Brahmanas came the Aranyak. So Aranyak means, Aranya means forest. Those who lived in forest, seers, rishis, or philosophers in Western point of view, they lived in forest, in ashrams. They thought, they composed poetry, they composed philosophy. That became Aranyaka. And after that came Upanishads. Upanishads were really crystal thinking, philosophical thought of Aranyaka and also Brahmana. One of the early Upanishad rishi was the Mahamuni, we call him Mohidas. Mohidas composed the Brahmanaka Upanishads, and so he talked about this, that Om Tat Savi means I am the Brahman and I am the God.
Yeah.
There is a big philosophy.
I don't know. God means a little bit different. Like so,
different.
It's more like
Force.
I am the sort of like the universal force, you could say.
Yeah. So I am the Brahman. I mean, Aham's Brahmani. From this philosophy, Brahmana, came the Vedanta philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
Vedanta and Mimamsa.
And now Vedanta, Mimamsa, and later Samkhya are the first of. Now we're finally getting to this. The first of our major 11 sects of Hinduism.
Yes.
So that is it. I think I'm going. This was longer than I expected. So I think I'm going to post this video separately, and then I'll do 2 other videos, maybe 3 other videos. One tomorrow we'll record the Orthodox, and then and the Hetero-Orthodox, and then maybe another one in which we do just some open discussion.
Yeah.
But I need to get to work editing this, and but it was good talking to you, Devin. And
Good, yeah. Simon, nice talking to you. I agree with Simon. This is already in 17 minutes. We just talk about how
18 minutes now.
the Hinduism evolved in this very civilization, and how we're going to start with the Vedanta and Mimamsa next time, right?
And
Orthodox
Samkhya.
philosophy. Samkhya.
Yeah. So, but yeah.
Nice
Yeah.
talking, Simon. Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your
having me.
time.
Yes.
We're very happy to be with Simon.
And the food. Anyway, I need to get to work editing this. So, bye.